Alright, how's it going, everybody? This is Ismortah, and this evening I have a ELEMANCERS update for you guys as far as what Shadow Balance Games has been up to last month for development of ELEMANCERS, what the plan is for this month, and what occurred at RageCon, which I know I went a little bit into last weekend as well. Before I get started, I'm just going to check the Twitch feed right quick, make sure audio is legit. If you just bear with me 1 second. And definitely enjoy the pretties in the background in the meantime. Testing 1, 2, 3. Waiting for Twitch ads to check audio feed for the lose. Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, looks good. Cool. Alright, so what you're seeing here on the feed is Shadow Balance Games website. And you see some new pretties up and updated. So, let me go into some of what has transpired. Let me take you to the Facebook page. As a reminder, where you can find updates for ELEMANCERS is either on the Facebook page, we'll have business updates, what we've been working on, or similar updates will be communicated on Twitter, or you can find them also on the main website. With this update that's currently live right now, that I'm sharing with you first, being a viewer, will then get posted this evening to the website and other social medias. So I just want to go through stuff that I've been working on and graphically show you some of the stuff. So first was RageCon, which I know I talked about a little during the stream last week. So it was really cool, the fact that it was an opportunity at the largest board game convention in Northern Nevada. And honestly, that convention is booming. It's called RageCon, Reno Area Gaming Expo. And it's always a blast. I've gone, I want to say 3 or 4 years now, ever since the year 2 when they started. Only because I didn't hear about year 1 because they're really small. They've doubled in size every year. Last year was 500 attendees. This year was over 1,000. So it's really cool because like it's got so many different events you can do there. And now we're starting to get people come out of state and other companies and vendors. It just really booming, which is really great for the Reno area. But what's great is I was able to demo ELEMANCERS. So I demoed the game, as you probably saw on my events on Facebook, Friday night and Saturday and Sunday morning of last weekend, and got 3 different groups of players to check out the game. For that, I just exposed them to how to play the game and the first round of the game, just get a taste to see what people thought with first impressions. And it was great. It was such a positive reception as far as what people thought of the artwork, the gameplay, how the area control mechanisms worked. And it was really positive feedback, and so that's really great to hear. The fact that I'm just doing the final polish in the game, the fact that there's something really substantial. It is good to hear. Between now and October, there won't be future conventions that Shadow Balance Games will attend, just because we're still developing the game and then have a marketing strategy, which at this time doesn't involve some of the bigger conventions, only because we were still working on the game, so we couldn't necessarily commit to a very large, expensive convention at that time. But we will be doing venues in the Reno, Carson, area in Nevada, as well as Sparks, as well as in California, just over to Sierra, in the Sacramento and Bay Area, Dublin areas. So look for more information on those starting in the middle of August, once we have the beta build completed. The build that I had shown, that you can see some shots here and here, the game being here, these two were other games I have played, which are a lot of fun, Thanos Rising and Formula D, it's what I would call an early beta. It has the beta gameplay, but the alpha assets. So the assets that you see on that picture above is not all of the complete illustrations for the locations, for example, and is missing the UI treatment, the background, bordering, flavor, and story text, which is due to be completed end of this month. So what was completed in June? And what's the progress currently for the state of the game? So one of the things that was worked on in June was gameplay tweaking, the fact making any sort of massaging, any things to make the area control more fun, to have each of the clans immersive, as well as to have a good pace not only at the beginning of the game, the options available to you, but also have fun and balance in the game when you have the meta strategies and the legendary weapons unlocked. And from the feedback I got at RageCon, looks like we're in a pretty good place. That only some possible tweaking as far as just the gameplay length that I want to give special attention to make sure we get that right when we advertise. Another thing that was worked on was the UI icon complete. There are a couple colors for the icons, meaning the creature icons. Let me see if I have a good shot. If I take you back to this page, like you see here for the lichen, this icon here, to update some of the icons. One was updating the pink to make it look more pink and less red. That way it's more differential when they're placed next to each other to account for color blindness. As you see here, for example, in this chromatic dragon icon and the ELEMANCERS logo, new logo, how the red now looks substantially different from the orange, so it's easier to ascertain when they're next to each other. As well as the coloring for if you're unlocking the light or dark versions of these creatures to actually have the white and the black icons as well, but have them visible. Another thing that was completed was, as I alluded to here, the Shadow Balance Games and ELEMANCERS logos. What you see here is the new ELEMANCERS logo for the game, actually, with the updated working title being ELEMANCERS Light and Dark. Because the theme of the game is ELEMANCERS, the story, but the core game is the battle between the light and dark factions, with the expansion which will be worked on and communicated during the Kickstarter campaign, that will have a unique title as well, so you can differentiate the core game from the expansions and deluxe editions. Is the purpose of that, with the theme and the brand of this game being ELEMANCERS. But the ELEMANCERS logo, this is the updated one that's going to be on the game box and communicated, with update to how we're doing the glow for the ELEMANCERS words, as well as adding light and dark and having it fade, as you see, from light to dark, which is pretty cool, as well as the icon shown of the chromatic dragon, which is really symbolic in a couple ways, which I'll share. One is the fact that this will be the icon for Bronzu when you fight him in the game, which is the dragon that comes out either on round 4 or when when the first clan uses a legendary weapon that he gets angered and comes out. This will be his icon, represents all 6 elements. But what's pretty cool about the icon, let me see if I can show you a better pic that's just a little bit closer. You can see here is each of the elements also represents, another thing it represents is actually the game board. This is the color format when you see the game board as well, as far as positioning of each of the colors around the game space that you see here. The spokes on the outside, like you see here. As well as each of these colors embodies the element that it's adding to the dragon, which is pretty cool. Like, for example, here you have, fire coming out its mouth. That's the flame element, whereas the ability to fly and protect itself with its wings is the ice element. And then here you have the celestial element with the horns, the beast element with his talons, the necro element with its body being eternal, and then the fade element with its scales being able to hide and sneak around. So it's cool that how each element, you see how the divides up that image also represents the contribution of that element to the creature, which is pretty cool. The other icon that was done was an updated Shadow Balance Games logo for our brand, which is pretty awesome. To actually to better represent Shadow Balance Games. And what's cool is, just by looking at this picture, you can decipher the name of the game. Shadow, you see like the Kraken dark entity in the background, and then balance with the scales, and games with the castle tower. But when you put it all together, it does make a balance. So I just thought it was really cool, really awesome design that really embodies the essence of the business name, and you can decipher it just by looking at the logo, which is pretty cool. And the last thing that was done during June was signing our last illustrator to help out with the game project. This illustrator will be working on these final elements for the game, specifically the legendary weapons, to add a really cool and unique art flavor to those to make them really stand out and look special. And then once I get those in, then the art is actually locked. I've already done a polish pass for all the creatures and for the locations. As you see here, some of the polish that was done. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. As you see here, to really make it pop. So what are the plans for July this month? Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more. Yeah, location updates. I already got into that. So for July, what's the plan for July? So for July, the plan is, let's go back to this page so look at more pretties. To complete the UI flavor and story text. So to actually complete the descriptions that we're going to have for the different battle cards, actually describing like in a book what you're actually casting. I just felt that better explain instead of just showing a picture, because you may not be able to relate to what the person's doing and what this effect is going to do to somebody, to actually have it just described as though in a story. As well as adding the story text to the lore cards to say why you're doing something, and actually explaining the lore that you're collecting in the game, as well as on the saga cards, which explains how you're going to get this next clue of lore out in the world, and where it could be and where to look. Because that's a huge part of the game, is finding these different clues and lore out in the world, with the last saga being actually finding the actual artifact that have those flavor descriptions. Second thing that's being completed in July is any remaining illustrations, which I've gone into. It will be our newest artist completing those legendary weapon additions to add a great kick to these really important and game-changing items and or creatures or powers that you unlock in the game. Thirdly is printing assets preparation. Now that I'll have all of these assets done, especially toward the end of July, the final week, to prep the assets, that way I can have them printed the first week in August, with printing possibly taking a few weeks. That way, starting middle of August, you can start sending these builds to reviewers and doing shows and demos out in California and Nevada, as well as online, to show you the game in its final glory. Miniature printing will also happen this month as well. Miniatures is not planned for the core game, but will be part of the deluxe edition, which will be more information shared during the Kickstarter campaign and probably right before the Kickstarter. But it's a really cool edition. I want to be able for players to actually see what it'll feel like with those miniatures in the game as well, to show how much they add to the value of the game. With those sculpts actually already completed, it's just doing small alterations to get the 3D printed miniatures done to the quality that I want them to be done to. Because the printing for, if you're not familiar with mass production, is a little different from prototypes. Prototypes you typically do 3D printing, whereas for mass production, it's actually ink injection molding. Then instead of 3D printing an image with filaments, instead you have these molds that you then fill with a material and then it hardens. So it's a little different process, a little different considerations you have to take into account when you're having something prepared for one printing process versus another. And the last thing is gameplay length tweaking, which I've referred to earlier in this stream as well. The fact that now I have a pretty solid game of how it plays, to get the general vibe of how long the game would take not only to play, but how different types of players engage with the game, to see how long it takes them to understand the game and or do a round. Then we can just multiply then that by how many rounds there are in the game. And then once I know the sweet spot for a round, since the game takes 3 to 4 rounds, to multiply by 3 to 4 and then take that average, which will be a good sweet spot on average how long the game will take to play. So it's really getting different types of players to see how they engage with the game at a higher level, to make sure that it works for them and appropriately communicate on the back of the box and on the Kickstarter how long the game takes to play. Cool. Well, that's actually all I have as far as updates. This is what we worked on in June. This is what we plan on in July. And the last thing I have to share with you guys is really the best way to get updates, to make sure that you're communicated to, is subscribing, which this was added a few weeks ago. The fact that you can subscribe to our email, so that once a month you'll get an email of an update on what's going on with ELEMANCERS. And when we get a couple weeks before the Kickstarter, then weekly you can update on what sort of social media or videos or events are happening near you, or that you can be a part of to experience not only the game, but be included in different promotional events to help spread the word of ELEMANCERS and get exclusive content as well. And all you have to do is share your email, and for now, like I communicated, it'll be a monthly update. With this, for example, what I'm sharing with you would be in that update. Well, thanks for listening and looking at the pretties. Appreciate it. And there's more to come. I'm excited. I keep getting more and more excited the more this game gets built, and to be able to share more of the game with you guys. The next board game stream, next Sunday, 7 p.m. PST, will be most likely in a Star Wars Armada video, showing you current strategies that I have for my favorite Armada builds that I'm going to start taking into local game sessions here in Carson City, as well as Reno. With the next ELEMANCERS update, to match the email updates, will be on a monthly cadence until we get into September. The next stream, though, will be Monday, 7 p.m. PST, which is my online card game stream, and that will be more Hearthstone, showing you completing chapter 3, hopefully, fingers crossed, of the Dalaran heist, and also moved into chapter 4. So if you're interested in Hearthstone content, definitely check it out then. And if you're interested in board game content, there'll be more of that shared next Sunday as well as the other streams I have in the middle of the week, when you get more information on this page here, as well as on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Ismortah. Online card games, tower defense, role-playing, and board games. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Again, really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to sharing more stuff as we get closer to our October Kickstarter launch. Have a good one. Again, this is Ismortah, and I'll catch you next time.